How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the GVTV podcast. I'm your host, Griffin Sheridan. Hey, what is a GVTV podcast? Glad you asked. Well, the GVTV podcast is going to be a monthly show where we get to sit down with some influential folks from the club and get to talk to them about why they're here, why they love doing what they do, and, of course, talk about movies and TV shows and all that stuff that we like making and talking about. So, up first, Kyle Macciomei, president of GVTV, is here. How's it going, Kyle?
Oh, it's going very well. How are you?
I'm great. We live together.
We do.
So it's odd for us to be sitting here and pretending like we don't, that we're like, oh, hey, it's special to be talking. I see it every day.
Yes, every morning,
Yep.
night.
Yep.
That.
Ever since freshman year.
Yes.
And we knew each other in high school.
We
And
did.
Speaking of freshman year, so let's talk about how we got into GVTV.
Yes.
So freshman year rolls around, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, we are coming off of a high school program where we did a whole bunch of multimedia production.
Multimedia 1 and 2.
Oh my gosh. And we're like, well, how can we do it here? What do we got? We got GVTV.
That was the first thing we saw.
Absolutely.
And the only thing that we ended up finding.
Yes.
And then 3 years later, still the only thing that probably
Still
exists.
pretty much, yeah. And so we went to the meeting, very packed meeting, I remember.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
At that point, Talon was president, if any
Talon,
viewers
Rudolph,
remember Talon.
Randolph, something like that.
Along those lines. And I remember, wow, we were pretty enamored with it. We had a whole bunch of ideas.
Well, you remember the main idea.
The main
right?
idea.
Because we wanted to create our own show.
Yes.
And this idea probably
Please.
hasn't aged very well. Because it's 2019. Do you want to do?
No, please.
Well, Griffin said, "Well, you know what we both like? We both like Louis C.K." Because it was a different time. It was 2016, and
Yes.
we were both very big fans of the FX show Louis.
Yes.
Massive fans. And the style and the comedy that came from it. So we wanted to do our own version of Louis, but with Louis the Laker.
It was just gonna be just Louis, just sad, depressed, lonely man Louis.
In the mascot
but
costume.
the mascot
He's
costume,
always
yeah.
in the mascot
Yeah.
costume. He's always just depressed. And he goes home to his dorm and he's like, nobody likes me. And then he goes out, but he has to put the face on.
And he sits in line and tells folks at Kleiner that cut in line that they're assholes. It's based on a
Because you
real
guys
life
know
story.
at Kleiner, we're all familiar
Yeah.
how there's the one woman, right? Or it's usually the same, maybe 55-year-old woman. She seems very nice, even though she has a very mean face, and she'll sit there and she can have lines on either side,
Yes.
right? So what will usually happen is there will be a big long line of like 10 people on either side. But you have to ask yourself, how does that line begin? Right, because you wouldn't usually just have one line, right? And that happens so many times. You've got a line of 5 people.
Yep.
They're waiting patiently to use their dining dollars or use their meal plan and whatever. And then one POS awful person is like, oh, I see that there's the 5 people in line over here. But I'm just gonna cut in front of all of them and start my own magical new line. And then everyone's like, ooh, new line. And then they'll be like, ooh, brand new. Imagine if that was like you're at the bank and then just suddenly like you got a line and then another guy's like, nah, I'm just gonna start right here. I'm in second place now. Which I, on a number of occasions, have when I see that shout out and cry foul and embarrass myself and everyone in the room. And the old lady, she doesn't care. She's just dealing with all of us and all of our
swipe all
millennial
their IDs
nonsense. She's just got to swipe cards nonstop.
Whatever.
Shout out to that lady that we all know and love, and I genuinely respect her and everything.
I wonder if she's still there.
Oh, she's definitely.
She's got to be.
She's gonna be there for the next 20 years.
The rest of her life.
Yeah.
So, there was situations like that we wanted to put Louis the Laker in and make it all sad and depressing. But it just didn't come to fruition. And I unfortunately had to I got too busy for my own good in the second semester.
You were gone.
Kyle kept trucking, though,
Well,
didn't
actually, no. I went to 3 meetings, and then I just kind of fell out of it. I didn't actually go to a single meeting after that for the first semester. It wasn't until the second semester I came back, so sorry.
Oops.
Oopsie daisy.
Oops. Okay.
Oopsie daisy.
And then, the next year, then we did a little show together called Late Night Brew.
Yeah, I heard that they were starting a new late night show, and they were looking for hosts. And I was like, I live with a guy who could probably be a host. And so I told Griffin about it, and then you auditioned, and then I ended up joining the show as well. And then we did that for a little bit.
Oh my God.
As in 2 years.
What a great time it was to be had by everybody, and every episode was the best show.
High quality, beginning to end, nonstop, Emmy award winning television programming.
Shout out to all of our hosts, Mike Klaczynski, Henry Morris, Eric Peck.
Alex. Alex is the
yes.
Whoever made the decision to hire a new host who is going to be graduating in 3 months, and we only had 2 episodes to make. I don't know who made that decision, but let me tell you, it was an interesting one because she came and then she went.
There she goes. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, well, tell us about how you sort of trekked from, going to a couple of meetings, GVTV, and now you're the president of GVTV. Yeah. How did we get here?
Oh, it's just proximity more than anything, right? I mean, you just spend a bunch of time in the studio that we have down here in the basement of Kirchhoff, room 0004 and 0005. And then anytime that there's an opportunity arise that like, hey, we're shooting this thing on this day. Hey, we're shooting this thing on this day. You're just like, yeah, I'll learn. I'm a film and video major. I'm going into a competitive market, so I need as much experience and skill as possible. So I need to be on as many sets as possible. Good sets, bad sets, doesn't matter. Because in my opinion, the bad sets are even more valuable than the good sets because they teach you exactly what not to do.
Absolutely.
And then you say, I'm not going to do that when I'm running a set. I'm not going to have my crew work for 8 hours and then forget to feed them and then forget to get their dietary information and then have them all very mad at me. And then while I eat chicken nuggets in the corner. I've been in a number of those. Film majors, you gotta live and you gotta learn.
Film
Not
majors,
GVTV sets. These are actually just regular film and video sets that
I think I get to speak to a lot of professors in the film video major, and all the time people bringing up Kyle's name. Kyle is the guy in the film and video major. So if you're watching this and you've never seen his face, you're probably brand new, and this is the guy that you need to look to because boy oh boy, he's got a lot of wisdom and experience and knows everything he can.
I'm not smarter than anyone. I just don't do anything else besides film and video. So by pure proximity, I have absorbed all the information needed that I can then sponge like with osmosis. I believe I can just morph into you, like in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Ooh.
The lady who just absorbs. That's me, and you will be. Am I the monster? Or am I the kid? Is the kid absorbing you? Or am I absorbing the kid?
No, you're.
I have knowledge, and I'm trying to give it, and I'm gonna.
But you do it by
putting them in
your belly.
In my belly, which is what the what is that story called?
I don't know.
Okay, well, none of us read the books.
Niche reference. Somebody's bowling above us, so if you can hear that. That's what that is. I don't know what that is.
I don't know why they installed that bowling alley in Kirchhoff. God, really, it was a strange
pretty
decision.
Poor choice.
Not even like a full bowling alley. It's just one of those mini
tiny
ones
one
that you did in elementary school.
Yeah, little
like
plastic
it's still
pins.
carpet.
Yeah,
you just put the little pins up and they have the balls there.
But full regular bowling balls.
Yes, they're little plastic pins and then big like size 15 balls. They only have size 15 and 16. I don't know
why. Kyle, talk to me about why you love doing all this stuff. And what's been the most rewarding? You just started as president, it's your first semester. Yeah. What's been rewarding about being in this position so far?
Oh, in this position?
Yep.
Oh, it's just being able to see all of these new members come in and looking at them and being like, oh, I did that. I was there. And I was looking for, more than anything, friends. Looking to build just a network and a community of people that I could like just hang out with and share experiences with.
Absolutely.
And it's great when you have the ability to just be like, hey, we're all going to be on set together for 6-7 hours and we're all just going to learn about each other. And I'll learn pretty fast whether or not I like you. And that's what's beneficial is I can be in my position now and be creating the scenarios where people find the friends that they're probably going to be with for the rest of their college and maybe even much more than that. The majority of my friend group now is in GVTV because I spend all of my time down here, and so I gotta like them one way or the other. So I do, and that's what's really great is when I see a new member come in and think, oh, in 3 years they're gonna just spend all their time down here, and they're gonna have a group of friends, and they're gonna be watching movies down here, and they're gonna be filming together, and that's just a good feeling.
Absolutely, I totally agree. Is there anything you're hoping to accomplish by the end of your run here?
The big thing that we're looking for is we want to have paid GVTV student workers, right? Where we want to be making content for the university, for the students, for ourselves, and there's a lot that goes into that, and we want to get to a point where those positions can be compensated for their work because it's a big time commitment, and especially if you're doing good work for the community, and for the institution and for the university, we would love to have that rewarded in as many ways as possible. And that's already starting to happen, luckily, with the live stream department. They're getting a few paid gigs coming up that we're very excited about. But also, we ended last year with maybe 4 or 5 functional shows, long-running shows. Right now, we're about to start our 13th and 14th new show. So we're really excited to have so many more opportunities for new members to come in and say, oh, hey, look, I can do this or that or this or that, or I can do this and that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can play with dogs and make videos to get them adopted, or I can go and make a podcast like we're doing right here. Or, hey, I can go on to Late Night Purgatory and see what
see what the hell happens.
Because it's going to be like rolling the dice, and it's going to be a new experience every single time, and I'm sure it's going to be exciting.
Hugh Boyd's Late Night Purgatory coming
soon. If you
soon.
don't know Hugh Boyd, I would highly recommend watching interviews, and that'll probably give you a little inkling of what kind of person he is.
Absolutely. On the topic of GVTV and your role here in the club, is there any other thing you want to say before we move on to something else?
Oh, I mean, it's Grand Valley Television, and television is a very strange term in 2019, what with the digital revolution that we're currently going through. In my opinion, television is the local news broadcast that you see at 9 a.m. where they tell you, flu in your area, find out tonight if you're getting
If you're gonna
syphilis.
die.
If you're gonna die.
Yes, stupid idiot.
That's television, but also so is a Netflix show about people. What's a Netflix show?
I don't know about a show, but I do know about a film. If you're tall and you can't.
Tall Girl is television. Let's not lie about it. Tall Girl is television.
It's a TV movie.
It's a TV movie. So is a lot of the content that you're seeing on online platforms like YouTube and Twitch. That is, in my opinion, still, it's a distribution of content, and it's a different style and format, but it's video content. And so
Absolutely.
Television has surpassed a lot of definitions, especially in the past few years, and we want to roll with those changes, and we want to be making things that are as old and archaic as well as new and exciting that people are interested in, because there's value in both of those things, and there's value in the balance of those things.
I agree completely. On that sort of note, famed director.
So we're transitioning now into.
I'm taking it to a different place, Kyle. We said one thing earlier. So famed director Steven Spielberg.
Yes.
Doesn't like Netflix very much.
No, he does not.
Or at least in the context of. Academy Awards.
You're right.
And
That's
considering
unfair.
them films.
He believes that Netflix is television, which
Yes.
he appreciates, but he thinks is a completely separate medium from feature films. Feature films that are screened in a theater, in the silence, phones off, preferably, where you are absorbed into the film. It's an experience.
Yeah.
And he thinks that Netflix isn't that, and I understand why. But also, it's a little.
So, well, we of course, last year's Best Picture nominee, Roma, is a Netflix film.
Oh, it's so good.
And it's very, very good. And I think under that sort of school of thought, Roma wouldn't have been included in the Best Picture nominees, but I think it undoubtedly is one of the best films of last year.
Oh, absolutely.
And is a great film, period, regardless of the platform that it premiered on.
I saw Roma in the theater, and I had an amazing experience. And then I know a few other people who saw it on Netflix, and they said it was fine. And I think that there was a difference there because I was so absorbed in everything that was on the screen. And so Spielberg has a point. He has a point that the distribution of how you see a film is important. But also, the film itself is important. And we shouldn't necessarily be judging a film by its distribution platform, I think.
I completely agree, and so with that, I think we'd like to announce, of course, Late Night Brew's Academy Award, run for your consideration. Late Night Brew.
Yep.
Best Picture.
Absolutely.
2020.
Best animated feature as well.
We have when did we do an animated feature?
Oh no, it's just so good.
Oh.
That they were like, we need to find.
We got to put this everywhere.
We got to put this in all the categories.
Best foreign language documentary.
Yep.
Talk Time 4 is
Time number 4.
And other George Lucas.
Cool. Talk about George Lucas.
So part of the show here, folks, is going to be we're going to sit down with folks from GVTV, talk to them about the whole thing, the whole deal here, and then we're going to talk about something else, something in the news in the realm of Hollywood. This week, Bob Iger comes out, and he published this memoir earlier this week. about his first 15 years working for the Walt Disney Company.
Where
of course,
he
the
turned the
CEO.
Walt Disney Company from a giant in the media industry to a behemoth in every industry.
Absolutely.
An unstoppable, unkillable mutation of money and success and power
And Marvel
that I
and
respect, but
Pixar.
also am terrified of.
So, Bob Iger is discussing the acquisition of Lucasfilm, which of course included story treatments by George Lucas for the sequel trilogy of Star Wars, which of course we've already gotten 2 of under the Disney umbrella here, Episode 7 and Episode 8, as well as a couple of other films and some more along the way. Episode 9 is about to come out, so the whole story is almost finished, and we are thinking, wow, it's almost the end of the Star Wars story that we've, 40 years of Star Wars coming to a head here. This is the end of it all, as it was always meant to be told. Or is it?
That's the question.
So George Lucas has these story treatments that he was like...
Story treatments that he supposedly wrote in the 70s,
Yes,
right? Like these are the core story elements that he wanted to do ever since he made the first film.
Yeah, and he's like, Disney, here they are. You can do Star Wars, and here are my story treatments. Let's talk about what the stories are going to be. We'll get someone else to write the script, of course. But these are the stories I have in mind for the sequel trilogy. And they say, great, George. We'll take those into account, but we by no means have to contractually make them. And he's like, okay, sure, but, we're gonna, right? And he's like, yeah. And then they sit down and have a meeting to discuss making Episode 7. And they start describing what the story is going to be. Yeah. And they start describing Force Awakens. And George Lucas is like,
wait,
that's not my movie.
This isn't my movie.
Oh, but it is my movie. It's the movie I already made.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's A New Hope 2.0.
Yeah, so there's a lot of talk going around right now that George Lucas, the father of Star Wars, was betrayed and stabbed in the back by Disney. Kyle, I know you have thoughts on this.
I have thoughts on this.
Yes.
I don't know the full story, but George Lucas is one of the most successful businessmen of all time, without a doubt. He understands media and business and how they go together and how to be a profitable capitalistic monster, which he turned Star Wars into. So why I don't understand how he can be mad about this whole betrayal thing, because he understands he's been in the Hollywood business for decades. So if he wanted to keep creative control over these movies, he should have put it in the fine print. Have you seen The Founder with Michael Keaton?
Of course.
You remember at the end when Ron Swanson and the other guy, who are the guys who founded Ronald McDonald, are in the room with Michael Keaton, and they look at the contract, and in the contract it says, yeah, you guys don't get any of the money. And then they're like, what? We want it in the contract. And then Michael Keaton's like, listen, we're gonna just shake on it, right? Gentleman's agreement. We're gonna shake on it, and I promise you're gonna get all that money. It just can't be in the fine print. And they're like, okay. And then you get the text at the end that says, oh hey, they never got a single cent. Because it wasn't in the fine print. So why would George think that he would be able to contain creative freedom? And why would he feel betrayed? I mean, I understand he should understand this business. This is Hollywood. You're gonna get screwed over. You're gonna get stabbed in the back. You need securities to make sure that doesn't happen. Especially when you have a track record like George Lucas in the past 2 decades ain't as good as it used to be. So if he wants all that money, if he wants to sell Lucasfilm, and he wants to make the movies that he needs to make, then he needs to make sure that's in the print. And if he's mad and he feels backstabbed about that, then I don't understand what he thought was going to happen. That's where I stand. That's what I think.
Do you think any part of it is because him and Kathy Kennedy were close before everything? Yep. And I think that probably a lot of emotions are coming from that.
Yeah, he trusts Kathleen Kennedy.
Yes.
And Kathleen Kennedy screwed him over. Maybe. We by no means are experts on the situation and don't want to pretend like we are. But of course, the thing is, I recently actually heard a quote earlier today by a famous wrestler. I'm not a big fan of wrestling. I don't know who he is, but I heard a quote about toxic fandom, right? And this quote comes from the fact that a lot of what folks on the internet today are doing is they're talking about a thing that they like or don't like without any sort of opinion. He says is the lowest form
of just like human just like knowledge or whatever. Anybody can have an opinion about anything without actually having studied or experienced any of it. And so a lot of folks are just going around spouting their opinions and having other people believe those opinions and everything along those lines. And we, of course, are no means experts.
No,
we absolutely do have...
I haven't read Bob Iger's memoir. I haven't gone in depth with everything that went on.
Yeah. But we have studied film, and we've had some experience on some amateur film sets here, and we're here making stuff, and we understand or have a vague understanding of the whole process.
It's just when if I hear a quote from George Lucas that says, "I feel betrayed because they didn't do what I wanted them to do," then it's like, then Georgie boy, you got to put that in the paper. You got to put that on the. If you're gonna take $4 billion, how much did Lucas?
It was
say?
$4
If you're
billion.
gonna take $4 billion. You gotta
make sure.
That's the price he paid. He wanted the money, which he donated. I mean, like he donated like 99% of it, all of it.
I think so.
I think George is an incredibly philanthropist and well-minded and like just an incredible human being. But the contract was, I get $4 billion and you get my movies. And nowhere in there does it say that you have to make the movies that I wrote.
So there's some people coming out now that are very surprised by this. I wasn't surprised by this.
No. We've known for some time that George has a lot of ideas, and we also knew that Disney wasn't going to do any of them.
No. So then the question that sort of spawns from that, are you happy with what we have, or would you have rather seen George's movies?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question.
Is it more so a question of, are we talking about the sheer quality of these films, or are we talking about the fact that this is the brainchild of one man? 6 movies of this are more or less the brainchild of one man, and there's supposed to be 3 more that are of his thought and from his mind, and they aren't?
No.
Or they are a little bit, but they're not?
Yeah, they're really not.
We really have no idea. But that's the question I posed to you. Would you rather have these 3 films as they are, or would we rather have George Lucas's 3 Star Wars sequels?
There's a lot to say about Episode 7 and Episode 8, and in terms of what they're doing. Obviously, they're behemoths. They're dropping and they're making so much money. They're 7 was incredibly crowd pleasing. 8 was maybe 50-50. Critics seem to really appreciate its style and what it did differently, while fans maybe were not as much with the differentiation. If George Lucas was allowed to make the movies that he wanted to make with 7, 8, and 9, they would have definitely been interesting. And interesting is something that you can really look at for a while, right? We're still talking about Phantom Menace. We're still talking about Attack of the Clones. And we're still talking about Revenge of the Sith. Because there's a lot to unpack there. Most of it not really good. But it generates discussions. It challenges the mind. It makes you ask, what are they doing here and why are they doing it?
Yes. I think it sort of unmistakably still feels like... George's story, which is interesting because they sort of clash in a lot of ways with the originals.
They are heavily dichotomous.
Yes.
While still existing in this same universe.
Yes, and of course the sequels, especially aesthetically, rely quite a bit on the original trilogy.
Oh, absolutely. They're kind of throwing away the prequels. They're kind of moving on from them and trying to do something that is much more, nostalgic. I mean, we're living in this age of nostalgia, right? The 80s is going through that snow cycle. Soon we're going to be in the 90s, and we're going to be getting our Fresh Prince of Bel-Air reboot where Will is like, the father, and then we're going to have, who's a young... I was going to say Kevin Hart, but I feel like Kevin Hart can't play...
You're getting young confused with short.
Yes. Shoot. All right, I'm sorry. No, but I understand the questions. I would love to live in a world where we saw those George Lucas films. But also, I would also... You really rolling the dice there and having a gamble, because we also could just be mad and annoyed and frustrated for the next 10 years after they were released. We still are here in 2019. Whenever we bring up the fact that, what's the weird thing that happens in the prequels that everyone talks about?
I think a lot of people point to I don't like sand. A lot of people will point to that.
Talking about sand.
It's a great line. I like them all. I like all of them because I love Star Wars.
There you go.
Wow, here we are, folks. And I think the note to end on there, of course, is that
we have two straight white men talking about Star Wars, everybody.
Two straight white guys talking about Star Wars, and that Solo is the best Star Wars. And I think Kyle agrees completely on that note. And he has no thoughts on that, and he agrees with me 100% that Solo is really good.
On all of this topic.
Hey, thanks for watching.
Thank you so much for listening. This was fantastic.
Thank you so much
for having me, Griffin.
Of course,
I was happy to be here.
Hey, love you. See you at home.
I'll see you at home. We'll probably watch. What are we gonna watch tonight?
We're going to see Hustlers.
Gonna see Hustlers. Gonna watch Jennifer Lopez win her Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. I'm calling it now.
Wow.
Calling it.
You heard it here
She's
first,
winning
folks.
it. She's getting it.
It's going to be fantastic. Is Iggy Azalea also going to be?
Is she in the movie?
I don't know.
No, Cardi B's in the movie.
I get all of them mixed up sometimes.
How?
I don't know. They all sing pop songs and they all talk about booties or whatever.
Fair enough.
I don't know. We're getting... thanks for watching. Thanks for
Keke
listening.
Palmer as well. Remember her?
True Jackson VP.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that wild? Such a wild time. You can't put a 16-year-old in charge of a company.
Did I get that right? Is that what the show is called?
It is what the show's called, right? True Jackson VP?
Oh, man. I can't believe I just
You remember the lemon bars?
It.
Because I remember the lemon bars.
I didn't watch it.
You didn't watch it? They had a live studio audience. They said it at the beginning of every single show.
I'm sorry.
True Jackson VP was filmed in front of a live studio audience.
I think I was still on my Drake and Josh cycle still. It was just endless Drake and
See,
Josh.
I left the children's programming when Shake It Off came on. I think that was when I was like, nah, maybe it's no more.
I think I left at Wizards of Waverly Place.
That's
more
early.
or less, yeah.
You matured fast.
I guess so.
There you
I don't
go.
know. I found my first Robot Chicken clip in 4th grade, so I think from there I just
Probably
went.
changed everything.
Ugh.
Yeah, there you go.
I found stuff way too. The internet is bad for kids, and they shouldn't have it at such a young age. But you know what the internet is great for? Watching or listening to this podcast. Thanks so much, everybody. And hey, we'll catch you. This is a monthly show, so we'll catch you next month for episode 2 with who? I don't know. We haven't gotten that far yet, but it'll be great.
We're bringing in Nancy Pelosi, and she's going to talk about the impeachment. That's who we've got. She's booked.
Yeah, we got her.
We're actually holding. I don't know if you heard, but the impeachment inquiry is happening in this studio.
Oh, good.
We're fitting everyone in here.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah. This is also where, like, eventually as we get down the line, this is where all the debates for the 2020 election will take place.
No. We've got the contracts for all of that fleshed out.
It's pretty incredible. What else is incredible? This show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you next month.
Thank you so very much.
Bye.